Welcome back to Adventures and Experiences. Today on this episode, it's going to be an exciting episode. Today we are in Stockport, Greater Manchester. What are we doing today, Alex?
We are going to be exploring the Stockport air raid shelters and gain an insight into how local people coped with World War II.
We're going to explore tunnels and we are going to explore how they lived. So, without further ado, let's get started. The parking has some issues. We can't pay for coins. Sometimes it's not accepting coins. You have to go to Ringo app and purchase through the phone, or again, the app doesn't work just like last time, if you remember. So we have to call them and we sorted it out. However, to get there, when you figure out where you are and the amount of stairs you have to walk through, here, it's like a big loop. It's actually not far, so come, I'll show you. We just finished walking down the stairs and it's just over there.
So we finally arrived in front of the Stockport air raid shelters. That is actually a hidden gem for us. We had no idea that it exists here in the town of Stockport. Now, the town of Stockport is based in Greater Manchester in the north of England, and the words come from actually two Saxon words. So stock, which means castle or a stockade place, and port, which means wood. So essentially a castle in a wood. So we decided to come here because we found out about this place, and you are not able to see now, but maybe later. This is an underground tunnel behind me, and it's carved in natural sandstone cliffs. So let's go check it out.
The worst part is the waiting. We've been told that there's these explosive bombs that'll blow up a whole street.
So we got inside the reception, we paid for our tickets, and then we were given, by the lovely approachable staff, we were given two remotes. These are self-guided audio tours that we'll be doing today. We're going to be starting a journey into the underground tunnels, which are nearly a mile long, and I think we were informed that today we'll be seeing a quarter of the underground tunnels, so let's have a look. As you can see behind me, we are now starting our journey into the tunnels. The tunnels were actually built in real sandstone cliffs, as you can see here. In 1939, these shelters opened, and obviously then World War II started happening. Now these shelters actually had capacity to protect 3,850 people, but in reality, almost 6,500 people needed to stay here during World War II and get shelter. So let's continue exploring.
We have these devices, and what we do is put them near the R and it'll start talking. You can put the volume up and you can put the volume down.
Come with us, let's show you. These are the tunnels. You can see the red sandstone. It's actually quite powdery, like a dust, and it's not something that we've seen before, and especially so close to Manchester, so I'm really glad we came here today. Remember, I was telling you about the shelters, how they were built. So they were built in 1939, and one thing is that when people started taking shelter here in World War II, they actually had to wear a gas mask. Essentially, because German air forces would drop gas bombs, people were informed to always carry the gas mask with them at all times, just in case something would happen at any point. They could put it on and then they would be protected. Mustard gas was actually the one that was used the most. Now, it was so poisonous that it only needed a small amount in bombs and everything, and it took 12 hours for it to take effect. So for that reason, because a lot of soldiers were injured and died because of that, now the British Army and the government, they were worried that mustard gas bombs will be dropped against civilians.
This is where they store the tools.
What's on the left? It says there's a sign.
Tools to be used in case of emergency. The tool store will be open in the event of bomb damage.
Although there were 6,500 people using the shelters here and men were out fighting and trying to defend and protect, women were also playing an important role here. So they were taking part in helping the injured in the sick bay, and also there were facilities here for the nursing mothers And the meals were provided 3 times a day by dietitians. So even though they were living underground, they were still having some good diets. They were eating well. In 1996, the shelters were restored and imaginatively redecorated to give us a feel for what life was like back then. So now we're going into the area where the patients were being cared for. So it says here that a nurse will attend to you as soon as possible. Let's have a look. These are trays where the nurses and the doctors would use the utensils, you know, to check on the patients or to treat them. Put them in here and then they would get sterilized. After that, you know, sanitized, ready for the next batch of patients to be used. You had different bottles here, so they would use, for example, sanitary alcohol or iodine, different substances that would help with the treatment of the patient. And you can see there's a picture here in black and white, probably trying to reflect how they used to perform, you know, the nurses with the doctors, what they used to do back in the day. Let's continue the tour. This is where women used to prepare meals for everyone, and it's essentially for the canteen. So there are different signs here, and people actually, to avoid contamination and infections, they had to bring out their own bottles to refill water and different things. We can see there are pots and pans and plates on different shelves. There's actually even a recipe for potato sausages, and you have the step-by-step instructions on what to do. You can see on this side, there is a sink, and these ones, I don't know if they were used maybe to put water, do you think?
Yeah, so this here, this here,
Yeah.
actually it's water,
Uh-huh.
hot water,
Yeah.
and
Is that to boil?
Yeah, basically boil water here
Uh-huh.
with fire, and it's a tap for water.
Yeah.
We haven't been inside yet, but I believe when there's a sign says men,
Okay.
it's probably a toilet. So they wash their hands here. This is where they sit, and if you don't want privacy, you can sit down here like this if you want me to do it.
do a demonstration.
It's all open.
Something I noticed is this, every section where there's a toilet seat actually has a rope, and next to the rope there are pieces of newspaper. So my assumption is that back then there was lack of toilet tissue, toilet paper, and people used to wipe, you know, they used to use the newspaper. Oh, we are standing now inside an actual fortified shelter. So not just the sandstone cliffs, but an actual air raid shelter. You can see we have different things, and this paper explains what it is. It says that it will afford protection against bomb splinters, overhead shrapnel, and bomb blasts. So if there's anything from above, like an air raid where they drop bombs and the cliffs would start collapsing, if you stand inside, you would actually be protected because of this. What is it, Fahad? Is it like a metal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metal
And
sheet, yeah.
Metal sheet, and it had different bolts to basically connect the sheets together. I can see some condensation here, probably because of the difference in temperature. So it says as well here that they used lime, cement, sand, and other building materials, and it says exactly that it seats, you know, for 6 people, what's the size, for 12 and everything. So I guess you would just sit here on this bench and just take cover while things were happening outside. Just as we showed you for men earlier, Fahad gave you a tour. Now we're going to go and explore if the women's toilet is the same or any different. So you have the sink where women used to wash their hands at the tap, and then here there are basically communal toilets. You can see to my right and to my left, 4 and 4, that's 8 toilets in here, plus another 8 toilets in this section as well. So here you can see it's different from what the men's section had. They have no area for privacy, or I'm actually not even seeing where the string is, you know, for wiping. Maybe that has been taken away, or it wasn't included in the redecoration exercise.
Look, there's something.
Oh yeah, what is that? Toilet not for public. Oh, they had some tissues here. So maybe the tissue was stored somewhere else, and maybe it was only for people who used to quarantine, like to take shelter here. Why does it say not for public? That's strange. But it's the same thing. You have a sewage. Is it sewage pipe, Fahad? Yeah, it's a sewage pipe, so everything will go in the same pipe and be flushed all together into one. Is it called
Flush.
a flush? Yeah. This is the pipe here. Let's explore further. We are seeing different signs here over on the walls showing us what they used to tell people back in the day, what they could do to save themselves or protect themselves of any, planes dropping bombs on them while they were in the street. So for example, it says here that if you had a car in the daytime, you should park your car off the main highway close to the curb, so as close as possible to the curb. And I think that is maybe to have taken shelter, not to be exposed in the middle of the highway in the street. And also at nighttime, basically do the same, but switch off any lights, any headlamps, and basically just kind of stay in the dark. And also, if you come with me, there's another sign here that says, in an air raid, in the event of an air raid, if you are at home, what you need to do is people had what is called blackout curtains. They exist today as well. And basically you had to make sure that your blackout was pulled all the way so that the enemies wouldn't see if anyone was at home, and they wouldn't be able to attack, and they wouldn't, you'd be safe. And also then turn off all the gas taps and turning your gas at the main pipe, turning that one off. And I think again, because if the bomb interacted with the gas, then there would be a massive explosion. So we are reaching the end of the tunnel now. The exit is just behind us. And there's one more note that we wanted to say so that we can conclude our tour. So from September 1940 to May 1941, there was what is called the Blitzkrieg, which essentially is German for the lightning war. So the German air forces were dropping bombs over Stockport and Greater Manchester area. Then after that, the attacks started getting fewer and fewer. And what happened is, in 1942, people staying at the shelters had dropped massively. And then in 1943, the council decided that it could be closed. So in 1996, these were redecorated to give us a feel for what life was like during those times. And this sign explains a bit more information.